Welcome back to another episode of The Lofty Lender. Today, I am joined by a special guest, Allison Hart. She is an Ankeny native who graduated from the University of Iowa before building a career in sales and recruiting. In 2014, she made the leap into real estate, a move driven by her passion for people and an entrepreneurial spirit that found its perfect home in this industry. Known for her tenacious work ethic, emotional intelligence, and relentless client advocacy, Allison has helped buyers and sellers navigate the market and land the best deals possible, all while keeping the process smooth from start to finish. Welcome to the show, Allison.
Thanks for having me.
I read your bio two or three times and I thought, oh, this is going to be so smooth. Of course, I used GPT to condense your bio, of course, but
There you go. Yeah,
advocacy is
I'm
so
glad.
hard. Yeah. All right. So let's hop into the first segment here today, which is business and beyond. So I'm just going to ask you some questions about yourself. And first, I'd like to just start off with how did you get into real estate and why?
So you kind of touched on it a little bit in my bio. I started in recruiting, and through recruiting, I met another realtor, or it was the wife of a realtor, and they were starting a team. And she was like, you know what? Recruiting is really hard and high turnover. And so she was like, you should come and start out as a buyer's agent. I did that and kind of started getting into the buying and listing side of it for about 5 years. And then worked with another team for a couple years before I was like, you know what, like we are ready to be on our own. I learned a lot during that time, so I'm very grateful for it. But I definitely think when you're looking to scale and just starting in an industry, you really want to try to learn from the best. And I feel pretty confident that I did that.
Awesome. So you talked about your bio talks about emotional intelligence and being a big part of your success. Can you give us an example of a situation where that kind of really stepped into play?
I think when you are working in real estate, that is a hat that you have to wear pretty regularly. And generally speaking, I think, and again, I'd like to think that most people have this, but I know when people are anxious. I know when people are upset. I know when people are feeling a certain kind of way. And so it really just allows you, if you're talking about something, if you're explaining something and you start to see that clamming up in a person to be like, hey, what's going on here? Or sometimes you're navigating through a transaction and they might be having some feelings about something, and if you're able to at least talk about that with people and say, hey, like, what's going on here, let's really kind of try to get to the bottom of this. I think that it just kind of disarms them to be able to talk to you and move it. And sometimes it's not even about the transaction, they might have something going on in the background, but when you're able to bring that to the forefront or understand how they're feeling, or a simple like, hey, I know that this can be really stressful, we're going to get through it. I think that's valuable to people to just understand that I get it's stressful. Like, real estate can be stressful. They say it's one of the moving in general, which I think everyone would agree with this, but moving is one of the most stressful experiences you can endure in your life. So
Absolutely.
as you get ready, when you get ready to pack up your house and everything and your kids and all the toys, and there's just a lot of moving pieces to it, and having someone who understands the difficulty of that and who is going to be there to try to make things smoother and solution, kind of prioritize for you, I think is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, you touched on something there about, there could be something going on in the background. And I think I try to come up with like a word of the year every year or whatever. And this year I thought of like, there's two sides of every story. I know it's not a word, but
Mhm.
that's kind of
Mhm.
my thought process throughout the year. If somebody says something to me
Mhm.
that maybe rubs me the wrong way, they're,
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
might not be having that same intention when they say it, or maybe they've got something else in their ear that has caused them to feel that way. And
Mhm.
maybe I didn't do a good job of establishing my position. So, that's been kind of eye-opening, right?
Mhm.
Not to take as
I
much
think
offense to stuff.
yeah, well, I think that's just kind of a sign of professional maturity too, and learning and growing is when you get to the point where when I was younger, I felt like it was really hard sometimes when that would happen. Someone might say something, you're like, "Wait, like I'm working really, really hard for you." Like, "What?" And the older that you get, the more that you just realize like this is not about me, like, and I think when you sit with people at the closing table, 99% of the time that shines to be true, right? You sit down with them and they're, "Oh my gosh, we're so grateful for you. We know that, X, Y, and Z transpired, but you just did such a great job." And so you just once you get them to the finish line, that's when you really kind of realize that.
Well, in my one of my recent episodes, we talked about, do agents even go to closing? Lenders hardly ever go to closing. I love to hear that you're saying that you're sitting there with them and having that conversation with them. I talked to the attorney the other day, and she mentioned to me that oftentimes she's sitting in the room with the buyers. There's no lender, there's no realtor, there's nobody but just her and them. And to me, like, that's the exciting day, right? Like, we all wanna be
Mhm,
there to
mhm,
celebrate with you,
mhm,
and that's your
mhm,
d
absolutely. That's the fun part, especially when you just get to kinda sit at the table with them and see how excited they are, kinda shoot the breeze with them, and not be in a position where it is so business oriented. It's just building that relationship more with them to, you know what I mean, get to know them just a little bit better too, while they're in a completely different probably headspace. They're super excited. It's yeah, it's bizarre to me that there's people who don't attend closings. Yeah.
So you talk also in your bio about going above and beyond the realtor call of duty and some of the stuff that you have on your website. To you, what does that mean, and what does that actually look like in your day to day?
I think it just means taking it seriously, right? I'm going to answer your phone calls when you call me. I am going to try to be as timely as I possibly can in getting back to you. I am going to make sure that you understand the process. That's I think making sure that people understand the process is probably one of the more important parts to me of no, I want you to understand why here we are on pricing or why I'm telling you you have to do, the staging or just making sure that they get it, I think really circumvents a lot of the issues down the road. And so walking with them through that I think is very important. And I think that's what it looks like in the day to day.
Awesome. All right. So now that we know a little bit about what you do, how do you relax? What if you're gonna take a day to recharge? Do you ever take a full day? Number one, and number two, what does that look like?
I don't know. There's times where I'm like, no, I don't relax. That's just I think that's part of being a mom, like, with
There you
3
go.
young kids at home. I think that sometimes it's hard to unwind all the way. I absolutely take days off, though. I am not someone who is going to deprioritize my family in lieu of a career. They are first and foremost in my life. I think that I can do both, but as far as being the person who's like, "I work 7 days a week and I'm 60 hours," nope, not me. Like, I know at the end of the day and on my deathbed, like, my family is going to be the people who surround me, hopefully, if I do a good job, right? So that's the most important thing to me for sure. And I would say just generally from like a de-stressing kind of standpoint, just sitting on my back deck, watching my kids play, doing a movie night with them, going out to eat with family. In my family, we do a family dinner every Sunday with like my whole family. So brothers, sisters, mom and dad, or grandma and grandpa. Yeah. So
Does everybody cook, or are you the main cook there?
it's a rotation. So there's 4 of us that are in it. So it's not in it, I shouldn't say that, but my little brother does not host yet, so to speak. But it's usually my sister, myself, my other sister, and then my mom and dad.
Awesome. So you live in the Ankeny area. I mean, Ankeny
Mhm.
is great. They've got everything. I mean, I just heard that the movie theater, I guess that's the biggest screen in the country or Midwest or something. I don't know. Anyways,
I
they've
didn't
got
know that.
everything.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't know that.
what do you guys do in Ankeny?
Well, speaking of movies and kind of B&B, we did go bowling this past week with my kids, it was a lot of fun. Other than that, I feel like it's just hitting up the parks. We live next to Sawgrass, so we go to Sawgrass Park a lot and take them there, just like grocery stores, shopping, that kind of stuff. From an out to eat standpoint, there's so many great restaurants, so you can't even go through and name just one. But
So what's the future of Allison Hart Real Estate look like? Are you planning to grow a team? Are you thinking you just stay as an independent agent for a while? Like, what if we had to put something together as like a 3 to 5 year plan? What does that look like for you?
I have an agent right now who helps me out. So I think it seems like the natural progression would be that I could get to a point where maybe she's working with me more regularly and then, potentially add to that. I think the main thing is really just making sure. I think if you're going to take someone on as a buyer's agent, there's an immense amount of responsibility to make sure that you are getting that person leads. And so I would really need to see like the continued growth and consistency and lead flow over time to be able to consider that, which I think I'm on my way. I think it's heading that direction. The fact that I do have someone that I'm starting to pass some things to here and there is an indication of that. But just really wanting to make sure that that's very, very locked in before making that next leap.
Well, and we've also heard that I can't remember what the analogy is, but if you get into a certain niche of types of customers, you're more likely to grow faster and do better as well. I mean, I just personally just am about to close a gentleman from Afghanistan who was recently denied after getting all the way to closing table about a year ago. He was denied at the closing table because of his papers. We were able to use those
Oh,
same papers and
shoot.
get him approved, and everything worked out great. I think I'm probably going to meet a couple more
Yeah.
Afghanis,
Yeah.
right? So that's exciting.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Do you have a focus on a niche type or a market segment? Sellers more than
Mm,
buyers? You mentioned you have a buyer's agent. Is there anybody that you're really trying to grow into with that?
I would say in the last 2 years, it really flipped to be probably 60-40 listings to buy side. And I feel like it seems to hedge in that direction more and more every single year. So I mean, I am not someone who is I know that there's people out there who are gonna say, "Oh, no, I'm a listing agent." Like, I'm not gonna I will help buyers all day long, and it doesn't really matter, at least to me, as long as you have a realistic search criteria, I will help get you across the finish line. I like hustling that way, but I would say right now I'm probably looking at, like, a move-up buyer or a move-up yeah, a move-up buyer who's also buying and is probably right where I'm at. But at the same time, I feel like I serve a lot of different areas. I feel like I serve a lot of different types of clients and keeps things spicy, man.
All right, last one. So, I recently attended the Central Iowa Business Conference, and one of the speakers just got me thinking about it. And I've always heard it, and I've done it before, but you hit certain goals, and that goalpost always gets further away, right? And
Mhm.
that's all. That's a whole other topic in and of itself. But I also started to say, I need to dream bigger, right? I need to
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
enormous dreams so that if I fail of that, it's still exceeding more than anything I ever
Mhm.
expected.
Mhm.
Do you
Mhm.
have that? Have you thought of that? Have you storyboarded, or I guess I don't know what that's called, but
Yeah, I
vision boarding. Have you done any of that?
yeah, vision boarding. I've thought about it before. I have actually thought about you can make videos in Canva and going through and putting like all the things in there. I've heard of people who do that and then they watch it every day. Like, man, what a way to lodge that into your subconscious, like,
That's
is
great.
to go through and yeah, watch that kind of stuff every day. I have not done that, but at the beginning of every year, I do sit down and I create my business goals of I'm more transaction, like how many transactions would I like to do? How many sales and closings would I like to have versus some people are very set on volume. So I look at what I am looking to achieve from a transaction standpoint and maybe this isn't the right way to go about it, but I think if I continue to scale with that, that some of the other stuff kind of just clicks into place. Like I've noticed by scaling that there's certain systems that are going to have to change and there's certain, you're always I have noticed within the last couple years you're always going to be looking for ways to go through and kind of improve and being able to pivot. This has been a really great learning lesson for me is you're never going to be able to just set and let the systems go. Like you are constantly going to be changing, you're constantly going to be pivoting into the next thing, especially with AI right now. That's a huge area of focus for me is figuring out how that can be leveraged in my business. So yeah, it's just something you're constantly working towards.
Awesome. All right, let's get into the quick pick segment. So I'm going to ask you a little bit of like this or that type questions. You can give me the first thing that pops into your head. If you want to expand upon it, you're welcome to. All right. So lake house or city loft?
Lake house.
You pause there for a second. You like both?
I went to New York recently and I thought I was going to hate it and I absolutely loved it. So prior to that trip, I think it would have been without hesitation, but after having been there, I'm like, "Man, that was a really fun city." Like, there's so much to do there that you could have a lot of fun with, so
Coffee or tea?
coffee.
Favorite book?
Gosh, that's a tough one. The one that stands out, I don't think it's truly my favorite, but the one that stands out is Nightingale.
Is that a non or a fiction book?
Ooh, no, actually, I'm gonna change my mind. The trilogy series by Ken Follett. So it's about like World War One, 2, and the civil rights movement. They're like thick, thick books. I like historical fiction a lot, and I would reread those anytime. They were wonderful. Yeah.
Concerts or sports events?
Probably sports events. I'm getting too old for the loud, right?
Aren't we all?
Like, unless it's a small concert at a small venue. I like those a lot. Like, I went and I talked to you about this before, Turnpike Troubadours, we did that at a very small venue. I enjoy that, but if it's like a Wells Fargo type of situation, I'm not super interested.
Turns out people really hate when a 6'10" man stands up in front of them when they paid for their seat. Even though I paid the same amount for that
Yeah.
same seat, I
Yeah.
can't go to concerts. People hate me, so it's not fun.
Unless you sit in, like, the last row in the nosebleeds, which I've done that
Or
before too, so
or at the very front, and I'm just looking straight up at the
yeah,
entertainer,
yeah,
That's not
there you
weird.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Road trip or, flying by plane?
flying by plane.
Favorite travel destination?
I'm a beach person. I'm a Florida girly. Haven't been in years. I'm working on my husband with it because he's not a beach person, but we'll get there soon enough.
What about, like, Mexico beaches or Dominican area
I don't
beaches?
I we haven't been. I don't know that I would go to Mexico right now, frankly, just with some of the things that have there's been some iffiness there. But yeah, I think you can get just as good, like, in
Well, you gotta
Florida.
try out Jamaica someday. That, liquid sunshine,
Yeah.
rain, oh, it's great. It's a
I
beautiful
also
place.
don't like the idea of getting, like, sick from the water, which when I've talked to people, it seems like that's, like at least in Mexico, like, I don't
Yeah,
wanna get sick on vacation. Yeah.
fair. Yeah, we just had a friend get back from Bali, and she came back with a parasite in her stomach because of
Mhm,
the water,
mhm.
so she has to get that out.
Have you seen the street vendors, like, the videos of the street vendors in India?
No, I have
No?
not.
Okay. I think for being, like, very American with, like, a lot of food safety regulations in place for those sorts of things, like, it just
Yeah,
kinda
yeah, yeah,
blows your mind a
those.
little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
like, yeah.
Just cutting meat right there on the
Yeah.
side of the street. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
looks good most of the time. I mean, I
It
probably
really
would
I
eat it.
mean, honestly, it does look really, really good, but I feel, like, very
Probably more
confident I'd probably
natural
get
than
sick.
some of our American foods, so, yeah.
Very true, very true. Yeah,
Podcast or audiobook?
podcast.
Any favorites?
Mm, no, I listen to really anything that, like, pops up. I see the short clips that come up on, like, YouTube or TikTok, and then I just kinda follow that thread to wherever it leads me. I'm not super consistent with one or the other.
I totally did the exact same thing, and I found a guy who he's a professor in China, and he is talking about game theory for World War III,
Mm,
and it's extremely interesting, and he's obviously just predicting stuff, but he's actually giving lectures to kids, in school and talking about, like, how he thinks this is gonna pan out, and he's literally spending the entire semester just talking about what he's expecting to happen with World War III. So, number 1, I think that'd be a really fun class to have been in and not worrying like, to me, fiction history isn't amazing, but the future, what that looks like, and having all these ideas and how things are gonna work
mhm,
and
mhm.
strategies, and it's cool.
That sounds a little bit depressing at the same time, though.
It was kinda scary.
Like,
Yeah,
if you wanna get, like, doomsday-ish, like, listen to that class.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Small town charm or that bustling city life?
probably bustling city life. My husband has, like, tried to get me to move to the country. I don't know if it'll happen or not, maybe, but I keep on thinking about how convenience driven our family is at this point and the idea of driving, and I like to do things, so
Got my wife to move out to the country, we move next
yeah,
month,
there
and
you
it's
go.
gonna be an adjustment. She's never lived outside of, a big city, so or a bigger city.
Mhm, mhm.
Favorite type of music or band?
I listen to a lot of country, but I also have always been a really big fan of, we'll say, like, the Red Hot Chili Peppers and then probably, like, Turnpike Troubadours that I already talked about.
Work from home or in the office?
I am at home right now, all day, every day.
A movie theater or home streaming?
Home streaming.
Do you have a surround sound and setup and everything at your house?
Eh, nope, nope, we're
Not
not that
yet.
fancy.
Not yet.
I just like the convenience of it. Yeah.
Last one, adventure travel or relaxation retreat? You talked about going to New York City.
Mhm. Still relaxation. And even when I was in New York City, we had a very intense schedule to see all of the things, and with the girls that I was traveling with, I was like, "I need, like, a European lunch right now." Like, I need to sit down for 2 hours, have a couple cocktails, recharge, and then I will be ready to go again, which I was, but I'm like, "I need that. Let's, like, not be moving so much. Let's just, like, have some lunch and a drink." So
Yeah. All right, next segment here is the trending topic. So there's a ton of stuff that can be found out there online on AI. I mean, I'm constantly fighting with people about the answers they got from AI are kind of right, but not necessarily steered toward their situation. So, what are some of the most important tips you're giving to sellers today?
From like an AI standpoint?
Just in general, what are some of the most important tips you're giving because they're having to look at stuff on
Oh,
AI,
I see what you're
and
saying. Yeah.
you're what's the most important stuff that you're giving them?
I would just say consult before you update. So make sure that there's nothing worse than going to a listing appointment and hearing someone who's like, oh, well, our furnace and our air conditioner were kind of old. So we knew we were selling. So we went through and we replaced those this last year, but we're going to get more money out of it, right? No, it's if you are in a position where you're thinking you're gonna move, I would say in the next 1 to 3 years, and you have the option between making like a $300 repair or going through and doing replacement, you're probably better off from a financial standpoint to do the repair. Now, I have people who on occasion who will call me and they'll be like, "Hey, what's the ROI on a covered deck?" Still probably not great, like, you might get a 50% ROI out of that, but are you going to enjoy it? Is it something that you just really want? Like, because there's certain things in your house that are going to be things that you do for your own enjoyment, kinda like a vacation where you don't necessarily think that you're gonna get money back out of it, right? So, understanding that, and then, same thing, sometimes people will be like, "Well, do I need to update my kitchen before I sell?" Please God, no. Don't do that, you're not gonna get the money back out of it. Or at least sit down with an agent who is going to show you, here are the updated comps, here are the non-updated comps. Is it going to be what you no. 99% of the time, it's not. So that would be probably the main thing that I would mention to folks when they're getting ready is just consult, 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 consult. Don't start knocking out projects. Don't start doing anything. There's all the time I'll go to listing appointments where people are like, well, we think we need to do. And I'm like, nope, no one's going to notice that very small
Absolutely.
corner piece of trim that has like a very small nick, even though painting trim is like one of the better ROIs that you can do. But there's just little things that people will see. And I'm like, no one's going to notice that. So,
Yeah, you're totally spot on. I mean, there's so many things that I was getting ready to list my house. I'm thinking,
mm,
well, I could do that, but do I want to? Like, that's not going to help anything. Like,
yeah,
I could paint this
yeah.
wall, but should I? And then I spoke with my agent. And she said,
Mm,
yes, you should because it's making your room darker and you need to brighten everything up.
mm-hmm.
We painted
Mm,
that wall, and it felt like now you're living in
a
a
new
stage
spot.
house. You're living in a
Yeah.
stage house that feels
Yep.
super uncomfortable because there's no products around. You don't have any family pictures around. We swapped all the
Mm-hmm.
family photos out
Mm-hmm.
for nature
Mm-hmm.
photos, and it just it felt so weird, but it showed so well. So I guess weird. It's kind of like when when they position you for your picture, and they're like, "You're going to sit in an
Mm-hmm.
awkward position." Well, then that
Mm-hmm.
means it's a good photo, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think too, sometimes people they make the mistake of being like, well, let's just see how the feedback goes and then maybe we'll make this change. Don't do that either because your best traffic when you get on the market is going to be in those first couple of weeks. Don't do the thing where you're like half ready. Like be locked and loaded and ready to go. You hit the market, you have done the projects, you have decluttered, you've done everything that you need to do to get ready. But yeah, I would just say generally, I remember when I went and I listed my first house and I was so far down the rabbit hole. Like my husband was like clawing me out, man. Like, hey, this is fine. We don't need to work on this. I'm like, no, my probably like my realtor pride and like my OCD that I don't really have, but I mean, I was just in it on every single thing, and he's like, "You are like, you gotta settle down." I'm like, "No, no, there's this little thing," and man, I probably needed a professional to pull me back, not my husband, so, like, that's what
I
we're
get
here
it.
for.
Yep, it's kinda
Mhm,
like when I'm doing my own loan or trying to, explain to
mhm,
the loan officer that's gonna do it. I'm, thinking, "Okay, what do I do?" I'm now, it's my own loan, so it's different. It's just like when you're a realtor
mhm,
and you're
it
selling your
is.
own house, it's different. You got pride.
It is. It is for sure. And I'm sure that there's probably things too. When I sold my house, I had other agent friends come through it to be like, what are my blind spots? Like, what are the things that I'm not seeing here that someone else is going to walk through and they're going to recognize immediately or see and think needs changed? So that's just a good practice across the board.
Well, if you're listening out there today and you feel like you learned anything, or if you feel like you would like to talk to Allison or get to know her a little bit, maybe listing your house or maybe just looking to buy or just looking for a good conversation, you can get a hold of her. Allison, how can they get a hold of you?
So my phone number is 515-210-5198. I am never too busy for your call, so feel free to call or text and I'd be happy to chat with you.
Awesome. And thank you so much for joining us today, Allison. Thank you all for listening to the show. It was a pleasure having Allison share her story, her insights, and what makes one of the go to agents in Ankeny and Central Iowa market. We hope you got some real value today, and make sure to follow us on all social media, subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts are downloaded. And as always, stay curious. We'll see you next week on The Lofty Lender.
Thanks, Kyle.